Well, thank you. Good morning to all of you. What an incredible day. First of all, Dean Nelson, who is completing her 5th academic year as Dean of the Law School. You've made such a tremendous impact. We're so thankful for your service. And to the trustees, to the faculty, to the staff of UConn Law School, this place is such a gem in the city of Hartford. We're so proud that this is right here in our capital city. Thank you for all that you do. Parents, family, friends, I know personally what a huge support network you are. And to the graduates, as you look around, as you take in this day, I hope you take a moment to just be grateful for all of the people, the community that have brought you here. I know how hard this journey is. And this is an exciting step, an exciting culmination, and a new step, but it took a lot of work to get to this point. And to all of you, congratulations. We are so proud of you. And for me, it is just such a privilege to get to share this special day with you. It's such an honor to be your commencement speaker. It is such an honor to be here. It is a particular honor to be on this stage because, as Dean Nelson mentioned, I am a graduate of Quinnipiac Law School, which is the 3rd-ranked law school in Connecticut out of 3. And as some of you may have guessed, when I applied to law school, I got rejected from UConn. And a family member of mine said, maybe this should be like your Michael Jordan speech, where you go out and roast the coach for cutting you from the team. And I can sense that some admissions person in the crowd is shifting nervously in their seat. I'm not going to do that for a number of reasons. I love this law school, and I love the people who come out of this law school. And also, every piece of my journey, my successes and my rejections are part of what brought me to this point. And I feel so blessed to be in this point. And as you go forward in your journeys, just remember, there will be great moments like this. There will be moments of great celebration, and there will be days that feel like rejection or pain or a movement backwards. And each of those days, if you keep your heart, if you keep your values, if you work hard, each of those days will lead you to the exact place where you're meant to be. My journey, and Dean Nelson mentioned this, it started thousands of miles away from here. My family are refugees from Sri Lanka. They grew up in Sri Lanka. There was a brutal and bloody civil war, and my parents both left when they were in their 30s, late 20s, early 30s, moved to England where they got married, and then to Zimbabwe because they couldn't stay there. And they had me. I was born in Zimbabwe. I came here as a young child. And I reflect back on that journey a lot, especially in this role. My parents, through incredible sacrifice, through resilience and determination and grit, were able to build a foundation for my life. And every single one of the accomplishments that Dean Nelson read off is built on that base, on that foundation. And, I've had an incredible first 39 years of life and got elected last year as mayor of the city of Hartford. And it started in January of last year. And within 3 months, thank you, whoever that was out there. Within the first 3 weeks in January of last year, I got to go to my very first U.S. Conference of Mayors. It's every year, mayors from all around the country gather in D.C., and I was just 3 weeks into the position. I was brand new. And while I was there, the White House had selected 6 of us who were new mayors, brand new mayors, many of them from much bigger cities than me, to build a relationship with, to meet with a number of the cabinet secretaries and build relationships with them. And I remember going to the White House. I'd never been to the White House before. On a cold day, it was snowing, and I had this coat on me. That was my grandfather's coat. My grandfather ended up in England, which, if you know anything about Sri Lanka, it is a tropical island nation where the weather rarely gets below 75 degrees, and moved to England, which is England, and after a few years, bought this coat that's very nice. He's a well-dressed man, and he passed away in 1996, and my grandmother held on to that coat, and when I started my first job, she gave it to me. And I thought about the fact that I was wearing my grandfather's coat, and in many ways, the legacy of my grandfather and my ancestors, as I walked into the West Wing of the White House to meet with these people that had only seen on TV up until that point. And we had a series of meetings, and I couldn't believe, it felt like this out-of-body experience. I couldn't believe that day was happening. And at the end of this, we got a surprise. We were each going to go meet the President of the United States. And I stood there, waiting to go into the Blue Room, under a portrait, the official White House portrait of Andrew Jackson, the slave-owning president of the United States, in one hand clutching my grandfather's coat that he'd carried with him to England, and the other hand ready to shake the hand of the most powerful man on earth. And in that moment, the emotion and the weight of that, the improbability of that journey that could literally happen no other country on earth, just hit me. And I got emotional. I'm not an emotional person, but I started to tear up. And looking like a blabbering fool, I went in to shake the hand of the president and started just talking, which you're probably not supposed to do. And I said, Mr. President, this is such an honor. My grandfather, when he died in 1996, this was his coat, and when he died, he would have never imagined in a million years that his oldest grandson would be standing in the White House shaking the hand of the President of the United States. And, he said, hold on, you got to take this picture. And he was clearly moved. And he said, but hold on a second, just wait over there. So he kind of ushered me to the side and shook the hand of far more important mayors than me, the mayor of Chicago and Nashville and other big cities. And then he asked me to come back and to pull out my phone and to call my parents, who were flabbergasted when they picked up the phone and he said, hi, this is Joe Biden, the President of the United States. And he talked to him for a while. He talked about, retracing his roots to Ireland and conversations he had with President Obama. And, it struck me for two reasons. One, as a kid, as a son, and especially as an immigrant son, you so rarely are able to capture and tell your parents exactly what their journey has meant to you, how all of those sacrifices, those late nights, that hard work, how all of that led to this. And I didn't have to because the president told them. But it struck me for another reason. Here was this octogenarian Irish Catholic president of the United States, whatever you think about them, and it's not a story about Joe Biden, who saw my story, a kid less than half his age, an immigrant from Sri Lanka by way of Zimbabwe, and saw in it his own story, saw hope and optimism for the future. And whatever your politics are, whatever you think about politics, I think what we all know is that version of America where we look across a table and see ourselves in each other is starting to fade from the highest levels of power. And if we care about that America, then we need to carry that torch. We are the holders of that flame. And it's time that all of us start acting like it. And look, I know it can be hard. In many ways, we are fighting thousands of years of evolutionary DNA. We, as a people, lived thousands of years ago in tribal societies, in small, tight-knit groups. And for survival, it was important to have high levels of trust and cooperation between that group and high levels of mistrust of any threat that might come from outside that group. But today, in 2025, that is an appendage of evolution. It's something that holds us back. It is the least evolved part of our psyche. And so when we carry that fear into the world to people who are of a different race than us or worship a different God than us, when we allow it to fuel misunderstanding between genders or people who don't share our gender identity or sexual orientation, when we allow it to deepen our divisions based on class or socioeconomic status or political ideology, and that's true for Democrats and Republicans, we are playing to the most base form of our human emotion, our most Neanderthal reptilian brain, the least evolved part of ourselves. It's also just not true to our society because we know that we no longer live in many tribes. We are one tribe. And when we put out pain, that pain comes back to us. When we put out hurt, that hurt comes back to us. And if that wasn't clear to us in the past, it certainly should be right now. Dean Nelson referenced Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. In his final book in 1967, he put it this way: that mankind must choose between nonviolent coexistence or violent co-annihilation. That we have one choice to make, one final choice, between chaos and community. And that's what I want to leave you with today. That choice that we have, each and every one of us, between chaos and community. And the greatest question of this generation will be what we choose as a collective. And look, I'm the mayor of the capital city, a public official, and what is clear to me every day is the rising vitriol and hate in our public discourse. I feel it and see it every day. And I have a choice to make, because when people come to me angry at me, and when you're mayor, no matter what you do, some portion of the population will hate you. When people come to me angry, I can either turn back that anger, turn back that hatred, and continue to ratchet up. And oftentimes, I'm embarrassed to admit that it is very easy to do that. Or I can look behind that anger and see that pain, see that brokenness, see that hurt, that mistrust because of decades of failed policy. See the pain that lies beneath that anger, the child, the hurt and frightened child inside the body of an adult lashing out. At our very worst, that is what we are as a humanity. Children who are scared inside the bodies of adults trying to throw pain out into the world to fill a void that we feel. But you, UConn Law Class of 2025, you get to choose your destinies and our destinies. And you can be the very best of humanity. You can be the most powerful type of person, one who sows love in the midst of pain and brokenness and division, one who brings light into the midst of darkness, one who builds community in the midst of chaos. And collectively, that is our calling. And I know that you're graduating out into what feels like a dark and scary world in so many ways. But here's the thing about darkness. On the darkest of nights, the stars shine brightest. And you, UConn Law Class of 2025, and you, UConn Law Class of 2025, are a constellation of stars bursting forth into a dark sky. You are the hope. You bring new promise and new hope to the future. The scriptures tell us that a light shouldn't be hidden under a bushel, but should be put on a lampstand to bring light to the whole house. You are our light. You are our stars. And each day as you go forward from here, wherever your journey takes you, wherever you go, shine your light bright, because this dark and dreary world needs it now more than ever before. Congratulations to you, graduates. We can't wait to see where your stories take you.